What's up?
Crash. Smash.
Welcome everybody to the I Think I Hate Movies podcast. We don't have intro music today. We have something better. We have mouth sounds.
Oh.
Yes. Today is June 14th. Tuesday. We're actually recording this on a Tuesday. So, sorry it's late. We're not Canadian. But you know what is Canadian? Yoga hosers. Hosers?
I don't even know what that is.
Am I saying it right? I don't know.
They said hosers in the trailer.
Okay. The trailer that we didn't watch. Trailers that I didn't watch. Blah, 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 blah. More music. Yeah. What is this movie?
A family affair, it looked like to me, with emojis.
Sure. This is apparently Kevin Smith's new movie. It looks like well, from the trailer it looks like it was trying to be a coming of age teen dramedy, and then things kind of went south, and there's little bratwurst people and poorly CGI choreographed fight scenes and Nazis and kind of Kevin Smith's brand of humor.
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. This movie looks bad.
Hi.
Terrible. I'm gonna look up if he is directing this or if it's just he's directing it. So it's a Canadian comedy, and it's got all the Depps in it.
And the former Depps as well.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's the only thing it's got going for it.
That girl's name is Harley Quinn.
Yep.
Her real name.
Yeah, that's Kevin Smith's daughter, because he's
oh my god.
a huge nerd.
So it's even more of a family affair than I thought.
Nerd. Yeah. That's like the level of depth that Kevin Smith pulls from.
The level of depth?
Depth.
It was, okay, I'm sorry.
Depth. Okay. I'm gonna leave, and this show is over. Thanks for listening, everybody. No, but yeah, that's like kind of the level of depth that Kevin Smith draws his nerddom from. Like, he is kind of a nerd in
kind of
that unnuanced sense of the word, but anyway, this, I don't know what this movie is. This movie looks bad.
I'm intrigued. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
It looks that off that I'd taste it.
It just looks so low brow, and I know has done better in the past, but maybe
trailers are weird now. I don't know how to judge movie by trailers.
Yeah, there's emojis and hashtags and texting, and it just seems like it's for an audience, a very specific audience, a very specific demographic and age group that is definitely not us. Definitely not us.
Set boundaries for yourself.
Well,
get arrested at the next high school you've been at.
If this podcast proves anything, it's that I don't set any boundaries for myself. So I guess you're right. And moving on real quick, we got some movie news, a follow-up to some prior news that we've been following on Kotaku this week. If you sift through all the E3 news, all the big video game news, you can find a story, and I forgot the writer for credit, I'm sorry, but somebody snuck some pics on the Ghost in the Shell set as the live-action Ghost in the Shell movie starring Scarlett Johansson, and we got a quick, brief glimpse at some of the costume design and setting and stuff. These are low resolution, grainy cell phone pictures, kind of.
You can't say grainy anymore.
They are grainy though. Like
if you would enhance them to
enhance,
1080p,
enhance,
they get grainy.
enhance.
But you can tell what's going on now.
But I mean, and that is kind of like I mean, they're taken from far away.
Yes, they're taken from far away and not on a professional camera. But
right. I mean, yeah.
It's in the 21st century.
Yeah, you can tell what's kind of, sort of going on. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Ray? Oh yeah, Ray. Yep. Ray. I'm John.
Hello.
Yes. Whoops.
And this is the I Think I Hate Movies podcast.
This is I think I'm starting to forget the format of this podcast.
We're a little sleep deprived because of our new puppy roommate.
Yeah, the puppy's still in the studio. So yeah, what did you think of these pictures? Photographs.
They look like a set with a movie happening. It's just
I mean, like, the aesthetic, the visual aesthetic that they're going for? What do you think?
It's got a good framework for something to be... I don't know. Like, it's still Scarlett Johansson there, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But...
It sure is. It's
got an interesting baseline, and you can see green screen in some of the photos too, so you know that there's going to be some interesting CGI things happening there, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got potential, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, but it just looks like the street view of a set, so it's kind of hard.
Well, here's the thing. Because the 1989 Ghost in the Shell movie exists, they already have a framework to draw from.
Mm-hmm.
So... aesthetically, that's never an obstacle for remakes or live action movies, right? Because they always have
they have
something.
The concept art already, basically.
Exactly. So, visually speaking, it's like, okay, yeah, well, you made a busy Tokyo-looking street with some people. Yeah, that's right. Because there's a geisha and like. It just seems like obvious things or like kind of low-hanging fruit as far as stuff that's in the shots. Scarlett Johansson looks fine. I mean, it's a dumb minor gripe. I'm not like a diehard fan of the series, but why isn't her hair purple? It's black in the shots? I don't know.
I always thought her hair was blue-black in the show.
Yeah, I guess maybe they'll CGI it or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. So this film is in production, and we will. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this goes.
I don't like her jacket. Her jacket looks lame.
Her jacket. Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't look like a cop jacket. But it doesn't look like the anime jacket.
It does, though.
It doesn't even really look cool. I'm wondering if they're going to do something with it post.
Well, she's got, like, the tight leather jacket in the anime, but she also has the poofy coat. And
she does have the poofy coat, but isn't it, like, a khaki color?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, colors and stuff, they're kind of taking...
I really like Japanese 80s fashion and the cyberpunk fashions in the first one, so it's just hard for me to part with.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like the original animated Ghost in the Shell had a cohesive style and a feel. A good eye feel.
Yeah, it's like very androgynous, like Eurythmics clothing.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and it's like it doesn't really have that vibe now. It's just like she doesn't really care. She's just on the job.
Yeah. Well, you know.
And that works too, because she is like a functional lady, but it had a feel in the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how much. Like gratuitous. Skin or nudity or any of that they show too, because that was kind of integrated into the lore and like her cloaking abilities and stuff, but also that kind of doesn't play in 2016, so I don't know. Or what I mean is, if they're going to do that, it can come off at first hand as just kind of like adolescent or like pandering. So I don't know. We'll see.
It was pandering in the show, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's. I don't want to make excuses, but it's like the anime aesthetic, I guess. Where I don't know. A lot of the times it feels like women in anime are portrayed
As objects?
as objects. They're
Yeah.
very objectified, and
Because they demonstrate, even in the movie, that the villain has a coat that does the exact same thing that her skin suit does.
right.
And then also...
Well,
yeah.
she wears a cloak, but for some reason she has to be naked, or
Right, because it's like
makes
it's her
her
skin that's
transparent.
chameleon, but then he has a coat that's chameleon.
Right. So, yeah, to that point, it's,
I could take off all my bulletproofing armor so I could be naked.
so I could be naked, but invisible. I don't know.
And also the manga artist, I distinctly recall a long time ago when I was like in high school, probably first seeing these, he said that he did that because he didn't like to draw men's butts.
Well, yeah, who does? I'm really bad at drawing men's butts.
It's just a tiny lady butt.
I mean, I enjoy drawing them, but they're really hard. Like, literally, they're really hard. They're just all muscle, and it's, yeah, anyway. So there's your bi-weekly Ghost in the Shell update. We'll keep you updated. So moving on to the movies we watched. From the director selector, last week we got George Lucas. And these were our picks from George Lucas. The obvious ones were Star Wars. But we didn't go for that. We picked, you picked, what did you pick?
I picked THX 1138, his first film.
His very first film. And then, consequently, I picked his second film, American Graffiti. So I guess we'll start with THX 1138. This is 1971. And then we happened to watch
The
extended special remastered edition,
with
which
the bonus CGI that George Lucas loves.
Yeah, if you know anything about George Lucas, this is kind of par for the course. So with that kind of caveat aside, you hadn't seen this movie.
I had never seen this movie. And I didn't get to look up something that I forgot to look up.
What did you forget?
The holograms.
The holograms as in the special effect, or as in the...
No, the characters.
Characters.
That
Oh.
was weird. Like, there's like a lore going... It seems like there was
Kinda-
a lore going on in the movie that I didn't really know, and I'm just wondering if it was deliberate or not.
Right. So, I guess from a storytelling perspective, what do you think?
I think it was a sort of... well, I guess it's throwback too, but in its own sense. But it's like a hodgepodge of a bunch of sci-fi and cyberpunk elements.
Mm-hmm.
Probably...
Well
Yeah.
done in some regards, I think.
Yeah, it was. It reminded... It's like... Someone took iRobot and... Well, I guess George Lucas took iRobot and Ender's Game.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of felt like, a hodgepodge of a lot of elements of
A
those
little bit of
two.
Asimov, a little bit of
Yeah.
Wells, kind of. So, story elements. So he wrote this movie, and he wrote American Graffiti as well. And that was kind of one of the things that he was somewhat proud of, is like being a writer-director. And both of these movies were produced by Francis Ford Coppola, who had done The Godfather at the time, right? Yeah, that would definitely have been made. So George Lucas is he was very passionate about like these throwback movies to old classics and
Oh
serials.
yeah, like the opening and closing of this movie was definitely like a straight throwback to old sci-fi the type of sci-fi that I love. So at the beginning I was like, ooh, super hyped, and then towards the middle it was just kind of like, this is interesting, but it wasn't. Granted, it was also the extended version, so there were like scenes where it seemed like they were kind of irrelevant, and I don't know if they were part of the original cut or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of slow.
You can definitely tell when he added a scene post release.
Well, certain ones they were really obvious, but yeah.
Other than the CGI scenes, but yeah, it felt like, oh well, we found this footage and let's just put it in with hardly any context. But that's another thing, is like, speaking of context, like, this movie sort of doesn't have any, and I can't tell if I appreciate that or just have a disdain for it.
Yeah, it was like it was world building more than any sort of major storyline.
Yeah, it felt like a poorly edited, maybe like Ridley Scott movie, like a first cut of like a Blade Runner type movie, where it's like, I have a really good premise for a story, and I have these interesting characters and a very interesting world, and I know how to portray that, but when I put them together, it is a mess.
It's not enough of anything to matter.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
to be something significant that you savor, I guess, as a film.
Like, I'll give them credit for having these characters in this dystopian world that are basically just little cogs in the system of this world that he builds, but he characterizes them fairly well for just being like numbers. Like, the main character is THX1138, that is his code name.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he does a lot more to characterize them, but
not enough.
Not enough. I mean, and especially when you look at something like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But granted, this was his first.
That's the other thing
movie.
I wanted to say was like, it's as a first film. If I were to just totally remove myself from everything George Lucas did later, I would actually be really excited to see what this director would do next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as a first film, this feels really good. It's
Francis
really
Ford Coppola
promising.
said the same thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me, like, to separate. Like, I love the look of film, and a lot of movies nowadays are obviously not shot on film because film is expensive and hard to edit, and it's just a pain in the ass. But this, when you watch an older movie like this from the 70s, and it just has that film feel and that aspect ratio, and it's really aesthetically pleasing, but also, like, there are a lot of really pretty shots in this movie, and like, George Lucas, you can tell he has an eye, or he's developing an eye.
Yeah.
And he's doing a lot of visual storytelling, as opposed to, like, his writing is just, it's flat.
Yeah. Which fits with robot people, but
yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, the basic premise of the movie is, in this future, in the far future, in like the 25th century or whatever, it's like an exaggeration of things that are happening in real life, as far as like people kind of settling into mediocrity and being consumable. Yeah, consumers, and very sedate, and everything's very sterile. And so in the society, THX1138 and his roommate, LUH numbers that I forgot. Yeah. They kind of discover that, like, these pills that we take every day, and like society is sedating us and like suppressing us and suppressing our emotions, and if we don't do this, like, there are things like love that exists that that they explore, kind of this notion. It's really a very ambiguous story. It kind of goes nowhere.
And then it hints at all this other stuff that's happening on the sidelines too, which is what's kind of interesting and also frustrating about it, because it never expands on those things. Like, there's shells, and then at the end there's this implication that there is an outside world too.
The end is actually one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, me too.
Because movies don't have the guts to end like this movie does anymore, or very few do. Like, I would almost say someone like Chris Nolan does a very good job.
Yeah.
But he's very it's very purposeful when he does it. Or, like, he wants you to speculate. He wants you to think.
Yeah, he wants to leave it totally ambiguous.
Right. And in this movie, this super mega structure city that THX is living in, the interesting part, he's escaping, and he's climbing up a ladder to escape, and the robot police force is chasing him, and they give him a choice. which is the most interesting part, or my favorite part of the ending, where usually the antagonist or the pursuer in a movie is giving, if they are giving chase, it's like an action scene, and our protagonist will lose them in some kind of exciting action. But in this case, it's just they are programmed to be so efficient that this chase has cost the city too much money.
It's not cost efficient anymore.
Right, so they propose a question to him as he's climbing to the surface, please stop, this is your last chance, we are here to help you. And he keeps going. And then the last shot in the movie is him coming out from the underground in this
to a
very
blazing red sunset.
Yeah, and it's just, and roll credits,
and it's Star Wars.
That's
still.
it. And then and then it's no, there's only
he's
one.
on Tatooine.
There's only one sun in that last shot. But I really like that. I really like that ending.
Yeah, me too.
That takes guts. Or no,
it's kind of a throwback ending though. It feels like an old sci-fi movie, especially that shot. That shot was like that iconic sort of 50s style
just
cinematography.
Out of focus, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, if you know George Lucas, it could also be, to speculate, he might have wrote himself into a corner.
He could.
I mean, the former I think is more likely because he is such a fan of these old classics, but also maybe he didn't really know how to end this movie. So I'm not sure. That is my favorite part though.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from just like the gorgeous cinematography and like the visual aesthetic of like this very clean, sterile vision of the future from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. It's very almost Kubrick-esque, almost 2001.
It had a lot of geometry in a lot of the shots, like when they're looking at the servers and stuff. I was like, wow, this isn't Star Wars. This is interesting.
Yeah, the server room scene where he's chasing or being chased. There's a really good framing and weird cuts. But speaking of cuts, like, holy shit, this movie.
Some of it was like a fan video.
Oh, this is George Lucas's first directorial, writing, and editing debut, and you can definitely tell in the editing department he bit off more than he could chew, because it's a mess. Some scenes are just barely coherent. Like even simple dialogue scenes, he doesn't know really how to get the most out of like the energy of the actors or like the performances out of the actors.
I don't know. Donald Pleasance was creepy.
He was, but but some of those scenes, I'm just trying to think, were just cut so weird. You know what I mean? That
I feel like that works maybe that's why it worked so well for
maybe
him.
It worked, yeah, for his scenes, but it's a mess, but so is American Graffiti.
Oh god, what was that movie?
It's a throwback again. It's American Graffiti. He filmed 2 years later in '73, again with Francis Ford Coppola producing. I believe he pitched this movie around a lot, and nobody really wanted to take it.
Because it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and
I'm falling asleep just thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I can't blame you. But yeah, nobody. He wrote it and pitched it around, and nobody really wanted to take it. I think it was Universal. Universal ended up taking it. Yeah. But yeah, it kind of frames itself as like a classic coming of age teen story with multiple storylines going on in the 50s, and it kind of like plays off a lot of tropes that exist in the 50s, which for George Lucas, he grew up in the 50s, so the writing and the look is very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
But the writing or the dialogue too is very authentic. The lingo and everyone's vernacular is very reminiscent of the 50s. But story wise, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
What? I don't know.
It's just about a bunch of teenage kids going off to college who want to have fun on their last day of
their
being
last
a
night.
high schooler sort of
Mhm.
thing. Basically a bunch of guys trying to get laid.
Basically
For
a
2
bunch
hours.
Of, basically every teen romp, fun, dumb movie.
Without the fun.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford wears a cowboy hat. I like a lot like THX. I can appreciate certain aspects of this movie.
Like the cars.
The cars are cool. The music's really good.
Oh yeah.
Like I said before, the aesthetic, the setting, and his set pieces and wardrobe are very accurate to the 50s. And I did mention also when we were watching it, the sound was really good. The sound was mixed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought very well and very ambient.
And actually, some of the performances were really good, even though the writing and the story didn't go anywhere. The performances were actually really good from some of the actors.
Yeah, we have a young Richard Dreyfuss, a young Ron Howard, a very young Han Solo. Yeah, some of them were alright, but as a movie, it's a mess for a lot of reasons. Like I said, the writing and the editing are just like haphazard. But it's interesting too. Like as I was watching, I was trying to deconstruct like the process that he went through with this movie, and like not knowing all that actually happened. I'm just thinking, like, what was his like storyboarding process or like outlining process when he wrote it? Because it feels like he wrote 4 different stories, like fully featured stories, and then tried to mash them together.
Yeah.
Like 4, you know what I mean? Like 3 or 4 like
almost,
characters.
To me, it kind of felt like if Stand By Me was written by someone who wasn't a writer. Like it's like trying to reflect on his
Stephen
friends.
King is a writer? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, not a good writer,
Unpopular
just a
opinion.
writer. Right. Contrary to what people believe, yes, Stephen King writes.
It seems like he was trying, perhaps, to like reflect on his friends' experiences as well as his during that time,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow make that meaningful. Like how it seems like a theme that he was trying to go for that movie was that there's more to life than this,
Mm-hmm.
and also reflecting on what their life was at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But then,
well, it's a lot of teen movies. It's like a moment in time.
right?
It's like when you are that age, this
That's
is the most important thing in the world.
But it's
I'm
also
getting
the
out of high
pinnacle of
school.
when you're supposed to realize it's not.
Right.
He's trying to catch that moment, but he
Mhm.
just wasn't really good at it.
Yeah. I mean, there are some characters that exhibit traits that really resonate with me because it's like, oh, well, that's like a very broad thing that
Mhm.
I can relate to, but like they're very cartoony characters and they're very just tropey characters that, I mean, maybe, I don't know, it was the 70s, so maybe these tropes weren't established yet or weren't as common, but I don't know. It's just like kid who is dating his high school girlfriend and
Yeah, you can't even really say that's tropey because it's like.
I mean, that's
It's
life.
Yeah.
It's a life story, but it's just like the way he writes it is so broad.
Mm.
But yeah, like I was saying before too, it's just like it feels. It felt like he wrote. I'm gonna butcher everybody's name because I forgot and I've been drinking. Like Steven was Ron Howard. He wrote Steven's character, and then he wrote Richard Dreyfuss's character, and then he wrote Greaser Guy, and then he wrote Nerd Guy. I don't remember anybody's names. But it feels like he wants to focus on these 4 characters, and they're all having very different experiences in this small town simultaneously, and then in the end they're all going to tie together, but it feels like he wrote them all as separate storylines and then tried to mash them together.
Yeah.
And then add on top of that the way it's edited, there are just like long stretches where you don't hear from any of these characters for a really long time.
And then when you get back to them, you're like, wait, just happened?
What were they doing? Right.
How did we get here?
So like with better editing, I think this movie could be okay.
Yeah, and I feel like also with expansion, because I feel it has the same sort of THX thing where it was like, he didn't delve deep enough into what mattered in the action that was happening for you to really like grab onto it and know what.
Or right when you did, it was like, nope, cut.
Yeah.
Moving on, like moving to this other thing.
It felt like there was more to
happening.
this story, but then it just never happened, or if it happened off to the side.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. It's like the part where the one kid is trying to get alcohol. He's like trying to get alcohol for this girl that he just picked up, and it's like, okay, that's always that's like a comedic situation that you can explore and like do something with. And then the way that scene ends too is like he ends up giving somebody money for the alcohol, and they hold up the store, and the owner of the store comes out and like is shooting a gun at this guy, and he gets away with the alcohol, and then it just cuts, and that's the end of the scene, and it moves on, and it's like that's like you're like setting up a joke, set up, and then the punchline is like not funny, or it is in like a very morbid, dark way.
Not funny.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's funny in like not the traditional sense of like, oh, like I don't know what a funny scenario would be. Like I don't know, the guy buys him like wine coolers or something, so he gets the alcohol, but it's wine coolers, ha ha ha. But you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what you expect, and then what happens is like the owner comes out like fucking firing a gun wildly at this guy that just bought him alcohol. So like, okay, that's funny. You like kind of twisted this like traditional scene and this traditional joke, and then it just cuts and it's done, and that's it. Like don't have him like get away or drive away.
Besides, the next time you see him is like 15 minutes later, and he's puking behind a car.
And he's puking because he drank the alcohol, we assume. So.
And you don't see any of that.
Yeah. But it's interesting reflecting on these two movies, like how when you just wonder how Star Wars happened, and it's like this information is widely available, but like Star Wars was like kind of an unmitigated disaster. Like it was because they shot it all on location. George wrote Star Wars, and his like original drafts were terrible. Mm-hmm. Like very emblematic of
but he had good actors.
What kind of writer he was. But yes, he had good actors, he got good performances, but like his original drafts for Star Wars were just like people read it and were just like, what the fuck is this? Like I think Han Solo was like a slimy green alien and like Chewie was like a kind of like a sleazeball, like just a dirtbag. And
that could still work.
Like Luke was, it could work, but it's interesting because he had a support group around him. Like he had people around him to say, George, no. Like George, what? No, what are you doing? And then going back to editing too, like he cut the first cut of Star Wars. He cut himself, and it, like people again watched it and were like, George, what is this? This is like incoherent. So it's just interesting when you watch THX 1138 and American Graffiti, and you can recognize the problems that those movies have, and then you watch Star Wars and you're like, well, wow, that's like he really improved. But it is that, but it's like this was a big budget movie, and he finally got he got a big budget, he got these upcoming stars, so like there was more at stake. So like you can't fuck this up. Like people had to be around him as this kind of like support group or whatnot. But I don't know. Like George Lucas might be one of the most divisive directors.
It seems like he'd be a good like arbiter of a boardroom.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing now.
He's got a good complete thing. And he's got a good framework and good fluff for it, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
If he just throws those out there and a boardroom picks at it, you get something like Star Wars.
Right. And he's very like business oriented now. I mean, obviously he sold Star Wars to Disney because he was kind of done with it, but yeah, it just makes you wonder what kind of... It makes you reflect the changes he went through as a person in relationship to how he made movies. because he was like THX and American Graffiti, like they have a very and Star Wars: A New Hope, like they're very grassroots. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have a grit
Raiders.
to them.
He directed Raiders, right?
No, that was
Was Steven?
Spielberg. But he was a producer on Raiders. But you know what I mean? Like it has like a very like it has a grit. It has like a, a, a feel to it that you don't like get. And he was like very, very passionate about like making these movies and just putting them out there. And now he's all about like, I mean, you could see it kind of evolve. Like he just wants to, the special editions, he wanted to constantly change things, and you can't tell. I can't tell anyway if it's like an OCD thing. Like, did it really bug you back then? Is that a thing that bugged you, or is it like, no, I need to keep touching this because it can make me more money and I can keep re-releasing it?
To me, I feel like it's what we talked about when we were watching THX, where it was like there was CGI that they obviously added well after the movie came out, and it's all like touch-ups to what you said were matte paintings in the previous one.
Yeah, a lot of them were matte paintings that he CGI'd.
To me, it just seems like he's one of those very visual people. When he comes up with an idea, he has it pictured in his head, and he does the best he can with what he has at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to something closer to that, he wants to put it in there. He wants you to see what he
Well,
saw.
now we need to go back, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's that more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or like or we get their capability, like the monster little cause he definitely seems like a world builder in all the movies I've seen of him. He likes to build the world and the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So like in Star Wars, you see those little aliens on the sidelines. You can tell that was like a doodle that he had in his head that he was like, oh, I've got to put that in there.
Yeah.
I can finally do it. I've got this cool CGI puppet
But we
making
don't have
thing.
the means.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, not to contradict that, I don't think this directly contradicts that, but like the effects in Star Wars are so good to this day, and it's really hard to not watch it without like rose-tinted glasses because I like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I mean, the effects in that movie are phenomenal still. Like,
But do the things blink? Do they move like
yeah,
you wanted
the
them
Ewoks
to move?
blink? Gross.
I feel like
Ugh.
I don't know. I do think some of it. It's of course some of it is the money. It is because he knows that there is an audience who will buy this, so he can get it to be made because he's like, people will buy this if I do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's more the creative process for him. I feel like, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, to give him all the doubt, like, yes, I think he really is a creative type that never had the means to do exactly what he
Yeah.
wanted, and he did what he could with what he had. And Star Wars, the process for making that movie sounded like such a fucking mess. Like, just even stuff like shooting on location, and like everyone's wearing these big heavy costumes, like
In the middle of the desert.
in the middle of the desert, like C-3PO's in this fucking
Metal
metal suit, and like, yeah, Anthony Daniels is probably gonna pass out. Like, let's keep that guy hydrated. And on top of that, you have to film. There's fucking sandstorms, and like, it just sounds. It sounds like he did the best that he could.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, I don't know. As an artist too, like, I never go back to an old piece of art, and with the intent of like touching it up or anything like that.
I
Like,
do all the time.
art is done for me, and it's, when it's done, it's done. But it's fun to reflect back on that stuff too. Like, I look at old art that I've done and just fucking wow, what was that? What, that looks like shit. But it's like, I'm not like totally masochistic and just like gonna beat myself up over it. But it's like novel to look back, and it's also novel to like think, oh well, like, look how much I've improved.
It's true, but I'm much weaker, so
Yeah.
that's why I feel like I get George Lucas, because I am one of those people
Mhm.
where I do go back to, and I do like that, but I always know when it wasn't what I wanted, and I'm trying to figure out how do I make that what I wanted? Or usually it's a complete do-over.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
sometimes it can be just like, oh, it's not right because the lighting or the shadowing's off or something.
Just one little thing. If I
Yeah.
just change one little thing.
Yeah.
But that's the
and
thing.
Then over
it's
and
like
over again.
it's a domino effect. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe, George Lucas said, well, let's just go back and re-release Star Wars, and we'll just fix this one little shot or even stuff like, oh well, we shot all this stuff for Jabba the Hutt, and obviously he turned out different, but like the original Jabba the Hutt was like this big fat guy in a big furry suit.
Was it supposed to be Jabba the Hutt, or was it supposed to be his messenger?
No, that was supposed to be Jabba.
I've seen that version, and I was so confused when I was little when I saw it, because I got the version with the slug, and my cousins had the version with the big fat guy, and I was like, what?
No, I mean, well, the big fat guy was Jabba. They shot that, and they're like, this is Jabba the Hutt, but they never used that footage, obviously. And by the time they got to Return of the Jedi, they're like, well, what is Jabba the Hutt? And they said, well, he's a big slimy slug man. And since they never used that footage, they were like, okay, well, we'll go with this. And then obviously the special editions, they unearthed all that, and they said, well, we can use this, but now Jabba the Hutt we've established is this big slug dude, so we need to CGI him in.
So like Han Solo walking over.
Yeah.
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 That's the scene.
So, like in that case, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I get your intent. Like you filmed the whole scene. Like it gives context to Jabba's character and Han's character, and it's important. It's actually an important scene. I think it's a really good scene to have.
It really builds both of their characters.
Right, but oh man, when they tweaked it and put it back in, it was like, holy shit, you just put like a fucking PlayStation 1 like 5 polygon blob in there, and oh god, we have to have Han Solo walk over his tail, so let's, like, he's just juddering around like
Jello man.
Jesus Christ. I mean, you know what? Standards were different back in 1997.
Yeah, I mean, to me that was fine when I was little and I saw that. I was totally cool with it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was funny.
It was funny, and that's probably not the intent. So, yeah, I don't know. George Lucas. I mean, the one last thing about George Lucas, like, the one thing that bothers me, that makes me speculate about him so much, is the fact that I think it was during or before he was filmed. Maybe it was after he filmed Star Wars. I don't know the specific date. But when the Library of Congress or whatever, they wanted to recolor all the old movies, and he was opposed to it. And he was like, that was the artist's intent, was like these movies, and like they're black and white, and that's what it is, and this is art. You can't mess with art.
Yeah, I understand that.
But then to have him contradict himself and go, well, I can say all that, but my art is my art, so I get to do whatever I want.
That's different. It's my art.
Right, but that's like...
That's weird. If you have someone else come up and touch up your work, that's weird. If it's your art and you're touching it up, it's different. He sees it as his art. And that's someone else's art. Like, you don't have someone go touch up the Mona Lisa, but you do, actually.
Well, that has to be done, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise it turns into a pile of dust.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like that kind of sums up George Lucas as a director.
Sorry, I just got a picture of that touched up Jesus in my head.
Oh, man. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, Google it. Ooh. Was it a nun tried to touch up a painting of Jesus?
No, it was a professional touch-up artist.
I don't know
She just really screwed up big time.
What's the difference between acetone and paint? I don't know. We'll just use both. Oops. Anyway. Yeah, George Lucas is that fucked up Jesus painting. It's like, you had something good, man, and then you used the wrong thing, and oh god, what is happening? Why does Jesus have a smiley face? Jesus, what's wrong? Jesus.
It could be this little title card for us. It could be Jabba the Hutt in the scene walking over it, done like Jesus.
Okay.
Touch up. Yeah.
Don't spoil it. Oh wait, no, if you...
No,
I guess if you're watching this, you already know. So, okay, alright. Deal. So yeah, George Lucas. He's not a director anymore. How about that? Well, actually,
still got greaser hair though.
Yeah, he said that he wants to do some kind of more personal artful stuff now. That he's kind of out of the limelight, and he sold Star Wars and he's not really... He's trying to detach himself from Star Wars as much as he can.
Yeah, I have a feeling when he dies, they're going to find a bunch of movies that he's made.
I have a feeling when he dies and you try to go to Lucas Ranch... Yeah, his Lucas Ranch is going to fall into the earth. The earth is going to open. That's his...
It's going to shoot off into space.
His contingency plan is going to be burn everything to the fucking ground.
I have a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as he's got a thing in his heart, as soon as his heart stops, self-destruct. It's like the end of Dread. Except for the end of Dread, that doesn't happen. But anyway. Oh,
that's what you wanted
Lucas.
to happen.
Thank God he is out of the director, selector pot.
Oh, we gotta do it again, don't we?
Yes, we do.
It's your turn.
But before that, let's do an email. This is from our friend Kate, good friend of the show, and also hosts her own podcast with her husband, the Life Without Taffy podcast. That's lifewithouttaffy.com. Check that out. It's really funny. But Kate writes in. This is kind of a long email, but we'll read it anyway. So, Kate says, this is addressing last week. I totally agree with all the stuff you were saying regarding the huge problems with Disney's fairy tales. As much as I would love to see a Disney quote-unquote princess not need a prince person to save her from peril, the stories are outdated, as you said, and we have always been obsessed with the class shifts in our cool human cultures. The only way for a sweet, young, supple, tortured soul of a girl to ever come out from under the ashes is to give it all up to a prince. Ugh. Look at celebrity culture today. Everyone wants to be rich and desirable, but they won't ever have it. So they wish for their prince to rescue them, wonder where they got that brilliant idea. Is it just me? Excuse me. Or has no one asked these execs why they need to remake them in live action with probably too much CGI? I mean, animated features can be great. Why kill it? There's magic and shit in it. Keeping it animated makes that easier, right? Whatever. Great job, guys. Love you. And again, that was from Kate over at Life Without Taffy. Thanks, Kate, for the email.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, the CGI part, I think we said something last time, like, that's gonna be a thing, right?
Yeah, that's this generation of movies. It's the art style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bigger issue is retooling those stories to fit a modern context, which is impossible, as we found out last week. Impossible, totally impossible.
I still feel like it can be done. Just not with my own limitations.
Mm-hmm. Somebody could do it.
I don't want to say it, but I want to say it, but I don't want to say it. There's a fairy tale that Disney's never touched.
Oh no.
That could be so good for the peoples. It's called The 12 Dancing Princesses.
Say it'll happen. The 12 Dancing Princesses.
There's 12 princesses in it. And they don't marry the prince. In fact, they kill 3.
3 princes?
In most versions of the story that I've read, they've killed 3, and then it's the 4th one that finds out their secret. But there's 12 female main characters in there, potentially. Come on, Disney. Please, try.
What country of origin is that?
I don't know, but I believe it was in the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales.
Huh.
It's really an interesting story, and I would love for it to be a horror, but then Disney probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Speaking of princesses and princes in fairy tales, I'm really interested. I don't know if anyone's seen it. If you have, write in, tell me how it is. Tale of Tales was we watched the trailer. It's a series of tales from, was it Norway, I believe?
It was Italian tales.
Or Italian, that's right. They're old Italian folklore.
But it's like legit folklore.
Thing. Right, folklore. And it was taken very literally or verbatim.
Yeah.
Even like all the dark aspects of it.
Yeah,
But it looked really
creepy.
cool.
Creepy.
Yeah, and it's got princes and princesses in it, but one of them's eating a baby or a heart or something.
Someone's selling their daughter to an ogre.
Yeah, some of Hayek's characters like eating a heart in the trailer.
So she can have a baby.
It looks gorgeous. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It looks like a fucking, I don't know.
Art.
Yeah, Alejandro Jodorowsky film or something. It looks pretty gorgeous. So we'll have to see that. And
you can watch that one without me.
okay, we'll do. But moving on, let's pick next week's director from the director selector. We need a song for that. Director selector. So it's my turn, right?
Yes. Close your eyes. Shuffle. Good job. Good job. Good job.
I'll toss this around, and I'm really hoping that I took George Lucas out of here, so we don't get him again, even though he's disqualified.
You got 2.
Alright, what do I have? I picked... Oh, Jesus Christ. Are you serious? Steven Spielberg!
Indiana Jones!
So we go from George Lucas to George Lucas's friend.
Good lord, how are we going to pick a Steven Spielberg movie?
I have no idea.
We'll be back in 3 hours.
Yeah. Is there one that maybe you haven't seen?
I bet there is.
That you have always been interested in?
I don't know about that. I bet there's something I've seen that I've forgotten about entirely.
Like one that comes to mind for me, like I saw Saving Private Ryan a long time ago, and I'd like to oh god, Schindler's List! I picked Schindler's List! Schindler's List! No.
I never saw Catch Me If You Can.
No, he was a producer, he didn't direct.
Gremlins 3.
Are you serious? Yes.
Who must have produced that?
Indiana
Minority
Jones.
Report! I finally have my excuse to rewatch it.
Okay, and I pick AI. No, we don't. No, we don't.
He did both of those. Aren't they the same year? No.
Oh wait, he did direct Schindler's List. I picked Schindler's List. All right, so next week we're gonna be watching Schindler's List and Minority Report.
And maybe Catch Me If You Can.
2 classics. No, I remember that movie and I remember it not being very good. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Holy shit, we're watching Schindler's List. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so prepare for a very reverent and serious and poignant conversation next week that's not at all irreverent. Anyway.
Did you just put him back in the bowl?
Yes, I did. Whoops.
Well, he has long enough so longer for you. We can do him twice.
Sure. Alright, you guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye!
Boop spop spoop skipop
Ding, ding, ding,
skipop
ding,
spoop
ding,
spop boop
ding.
skipop spoop skipop spoop.
Harmonica noise.